Guys, it's me Girish.M.V, the YouTuber of Plane Crashes Explained. So in this video, I'll be explaining you Alaska Airlines Flight 261 instead of American Airlines Flight 1420. I've cancelled to explain in detail because as I didn't get any video to explain. There are a lot of unwanted things in the video which I wanted. So from now on, we'll be doing short videos, like the length of 4 or 5 minutes. So let's get right into the crashes. On our first list is American Airlines flight, not American, Alaskan Airlines flight 261. Now this plane, there was a jack screw failure in the trimmable horizontal stabilizer. Trimmable horizontal stabilizer soon jams. As a result of this, the MD-80 continues on until it spiraled out of control. With the same time, the trimmable horizontal stabilizer broke away. The plane tries its best, and here is the moment where it happens, sending the plane out of control and into a nosedive. The plane went out of control, only to slam into the ocean below. Here we have it. Okay, now let's get back and go to the Wikipedia page. So, Alaska Airlines Flight 261 was a scheduled international passenger flight from Luciana Gustavia Diaz Doraz International Airport in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico, to Seattle Tacoma International Airport in Seattle, Washington, United States, with an intermediate stop at San Francisco International Airport in San Francisco, California. On January 31st, 2000, the aircraft operating the route, a McDonnell Douglas MD-83, crashed into the Pacific Ocean, roughly 2.7 miles north of Anacapa Island, California, following a catastrophic loss of pitch control. The accident killed all 88 on board, 2 pilots, 3 cabin crew members, and 83 passengers. The summary is loss of control caused by jack screw failure due to improper maintenance. Let's get on. Alaska Airlines Flight 261 departed from Puerto Vallarta's Luciana Gustavio Diaz Ordaz International Airport at 1:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 9:37 p.m. UTC, and climbed to its inverted cruising altitude of flight level 310, which is about 31,000 feet or 9,400 meters. The plane was scheduled to land at San Francisco International Airport sometime before 3:49 p.m. PST. The flight crew contracted the airline's dispatch and maintenance control facilities in SeaTac, Washington, on a company radio frequency share with operations and maintenance facilities at Los Angeles International Airport to discuss a jammed horizontal stabilizer, the possible diversion to LAX. The jammed stabilizer prevented operation of the trim system, which would normally make slight adjustments to the flight control surfaces to keep the plane stable in flight. At their cruising altitude and speed, the position of the jammed stabilizer required the pilots to pull on their yokes with approximately 10 pounds or 44 newtons of force to keep level. Neither the flight crew nor company maintenance could determine the cause of the jam. Repeated attempts to overcome the jam with the primary and alternate trim systems were unsuccessful. During this time, the flight crew had several discussions with the company dispatcher about whether to divert to LAX or continue on this plan to SFO. Ultimately, the pilots chose divert. Later, the NTSB found that while the flight crew's decision was to divert the flight to Los Angeles, prudence was inappropriate. Alaska Airlines dispatch personnel appear to have attempted to influence the flight crew to continue to San Francisco instead of diverting to Los Angeles. The cockpit voice recorder transcripts indicate that the dispatcher was concerned about the effect on the schedule should the flight divert. At 4:09 p.m., the flight crew successfully unjammed the horizontal stabilizer with the primary turn system. However, upon being freed, it quickly moved to an extreme nose-down position, forcing the aircraft into an almost vertical nosedive. The plane dropped from 31,500 feet to between 23,000 and 24,000 feet in around 80 seconds. Both pilots struggled together to regain control of the aircraft. Only by pulling with 130 to 140 pounds of control did the flight crew stop the 6,000 feet per minute descent of the aircraft and stabilized the MD-83 at approximately 24,400 feet. Alaska 261 informed air traffic control of their control problems. After the flight crew stated their intention to land at LAX, ATC asked whether they wanted to proceed for a lower altitude in preparation for approach. The captain replied, "I need to get down to about 10, change my configuration, make sure I can control the jet. I'd like to do that over the bay, if I may." Later, during the public hearing into the accident, the request by the pilot not to overfly populated area was mentioned. During this time, the flight crew considered and rejected any further attempts to correct the runaway trim. They descended to a lower altitude and started to configure the aircraft for landing at LAX. Beginning at 4:19 p.m., the CVR recorded sounds of at least 4 distinct thumps, followed 17 seconds later by an extremely loud noise. As the overstrained jack screw assembly failed completely, and jack screw separated from the Acme nut holding it in place. As a result, the vertical stabilizer failed, and the aircraft rapidly pitched over into a dive. The crippled plane had been given a block altitude, and several aircraft in the vicinity had been alerted by the ATC to maintain visual contact with the stricken jet. These aircraft immediately contacted the controller. One pilot radioed that plane has started to do a big, huge plunge. Another reported, "Yes, sir, I can soar. He is definitely in a nose-down position, descending quite rapidly." ATC then tried to contact the plane. The crew of a SkyWest airliner reported he's definitely out of control. Although the CBR reported the co-pilot saying Mayday, no radio communications were received from the flight crew during the final event. The CBR transcript reveals the pilot's continuous attempts the duration of the dive to regain the control of the aircraft. At one point, unable to raise the nose, they attempted to fly the plane upside down in an effort to maintain control. It was, however, far beyond recovery and descended inverted, nose down, about 18,000 feet in 81 seconds. A few seconds before 4:22 p.m., Flight 261 impacted the Pacific Ocean at high speed, about 14 miles offshore between the coastal city of Port Hamid, California, and Anacapa Island. At this time, pilots from the aircraft flying in the vicinity reported in, with one SkyWest Airlines pilot saying, he's just hit the water." Another reported, "Yes, sir, he hit the water. He's down." The aircraft was destroyed by the impact forces, and all occupants on board were killed by blunt force impact trauma. Now it's time for the investigation. Using side-scan sonar, remotely operated vehicles, and a commercial fishing trawler, workers recovered about 85% of the fuselage and a majority of the wing components. In addition, both engines, as well as the flight data recorder and the CBR, were retrieved. All wreckage recovered from the crash site was unloaded at the Seabees Naval Constitution Battalion Central, Fort Union, California, for examination, and documented by NTSB investigators. Both the horizontal stabilizer trim system jack screw and the corresponding Acme nut the jack screw turns to were found. The jack screw was constructed from case-hardened steel and is 22 inches long and 1.5 inches in diameter. The Acme nut was constructed from soldered copper alloy containing aluminum, nickel, and bronze. As the jack screw rotates, it moves up or down through the Acme nut, and this linear motion allows the horizontal stabilizer for the trim system. Upon subsequent examination, the jack screw was found to have metallic filaments wrapped around it, which were later determined to be the remains of the Acme nut thread. Later analysis estimated that 90% of the thread in the Acme nut had already worn away previously, and it finally stripped out during the flight en route to San Francisco. When the thread had failed, the horizontal stabilizer assembly was then subjected to aerodynamic forces, and then it was designed to withstand, leading to complete failure of the overstretched stabilizer assembly. Based on the time the last inspection of the jet screw assembly, the NTSB determined that the Acme nut thread has deteriorated 0.012 inches or 0.3 millimeters per 1,000 flight hours, much faster than the expected wear of 0.001 inches or 0.025 millimeters per 1,000 flight hours. Over the course of the investigation, the NTSB considered a number of potential reasons for the substantial amount of deterioration of the nut thread on the jack screw assembly, including the substitution by Alaska Airlines, approval of the aircraft, Alaska Airlines of aerosol 33 grease instead of the previously approved lubricant, Mobile Grease 28. The use of aerosol 33 was found not to be a factor in this accident. Insufficient lubrication of the components were also considered as a reason for the wear. Examination of the jack screw in an Acme nut revealed that there was no effective lubrication was present on these components at the time of the accident. Ultimately, the lack of lubrication of the Acme nut thread and the resultant excessive wear were determined to be the direct causes of the accident. Due to the extreme impact forces, only a few bodies were found intact, and none were visually identifiable. All passengers were found identified using fingerprints, dental records, tattoos, personal items, and anthropological examination. Okay, and that's it for this time. Now, let's go to conclusions. In addition to the probable cause, the NTSB found the following contributing factors: Alaska Airlines' extension of its lubricant interval for McDonnell Douglas MD-80 horizontal stabilizer components, and the FAA's approval of that extension, the last which was based on McDonnell Douglas extension of the recommended lubrication interval, increased the likelihood that missed or inadequate lubrication would result in a near complete deterioration of the jack screw assembly, Acme nut threads, and therefore was a direct cause of the excessive wear and contributed to the Alaska Airlines Flight 261 accidents. Alaska Airlines extended the end pay check interval in the FAA's approval of that extension, which allowed the Acme nut threads to deteriorate to the point of failure without the opportunity for detection. The absence on McDonnell Douglas of MD-80 of a fail-safe mechanism to prevent the catastrophic effects of total Acme nut loss. During the course of the investigation, and later in its final report, the NTSB issued 24 safety recommendations covering maintenance, regulatory oversight, and aircraft design issues. More than half of these were related to jack screw lubrication and plane measurement. Also included was a recommendation